Obviously, there's so much more that we can talk about when it comes to Islam and the way that Islam perceives the oneness of God as well. But just speaking about other religions as well, and moving on to Sikhism, we actually have Amandeep Singh, who is a Sikh educator and community figure from East London, who is on the line with us. Peace be upon you. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Drive Time Show.
Hey, thank you for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for you to be here. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Sikhism is, is also a monotheistic faith. So, how actually pinnacle is your faith in the oneness of God and your belief in the oneness of God?
It's a very interesting. It's a good starting question. So, it's core to our beliefs. So the opening of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, which is the Guru of the Sikhs, begins with the words or the teachings Ik Oankar, meaning that there is only one God. Mm-hmm. So it's very much central. It's the foundation upon which all of the truth of Sikhi comes from. So, but we go one step further, I think, than perhaps other faiths, in that it's not just that we believe in one God as opposed to believing to two gods. We believe that there is, in fact, only one God and nothing else exists. Each and every particle of creation is a part and parcel of that one God. So he's not separate and distinct from the creation. He is, in fact, the creator of the whole creation and part and parcel of the whole creation as well.
So that's very interesting. I mean, that this aspect of the belief of Sikhism is exactly. I mean, it's very similar to the belief the belief in Islam is, that there is only one God and there is no association whatsoever. My next question will be: obviously, we all believe in the prophets who bring the message of God to us. And what's the role of the gurus, like as regards your Sikhism? What role do they hold, and is it any divine role they play?
Yes, very much so. So Bhai Gurdas Ji, which was an eminent scholar around the time of the fifth Guru. In the Sikh faith, we have 11 Gurus. Bhai Gurdas Ji writes very beautifully. They say, "Suni pukar da Guru jag mahi bataya." They say that the whole world was crying out in pain because there was a lot of sins of ignorance. And the way that the Guru describes is that in the midst of all of that darkness, God, hearing the cries of the world in suffering and pain and falsehood, in answering to those prayers, that God came forth in the form of Guru Nanak himself and came to give divine enlightenment to the world. So for us, the teachings of the Guru, we know for a fact that the Guru was in fact the form of God on the earth that came to enlighten the world and to bring truth where there was falsehood. And the way the Guru describes it is that there was idol worship and things like that were going on, and those people were, in a sense, they were blind. And then there were other people from other faiths that believed in God, but was unable to recognize that God was, in fact, around them and a part of what they were. So the Guru describes those idol worshippers as blind, and that those that believed in God but couldn't recognize God around them as sort of having one eye open. And the Guru came forth to bring the light and to enlighten people entirely. So, in answer to the question, in a sense, the Gurus do hold divine light. From the Sikh faith, the Gurus are in fact the form of God.
Right. So, don't you think that if you think like that, is there not a question of association with God if you consider them to be God on earth?
Yes, which wholeheartedly we don't shy away from that. The Gurus were God, and in fact, the Guru's message was not that you should worship just them as God, but to recognize that we are in fact vessels, and within which we hold our soul. In the West, we call it the soul. In the East, we call it the Atma.
Yeah.
And that soul is in fact God. So what the Guru was teaching us was you were looking very, very far. People were going to places of pilgrimage. They were going to very far places of pilgrimage. In the Hindu faith, they have 68 places of pilgrimage. And obviously in the Islamic faith, we have the holy place of Mecca.
Yes.
But what the Guru was teaching was actually God is closer to you than even your hands and feet. The Guru so beautifully puts it that we look very far outwardly to find God, in search of God. But the Guru came forth not only to teach us, not only to bring forth that teaching that they were God, because obviously they were, but also to teach us that God exists within each and every one of us. And if we can recognize that through langar, through feeding people in the wonderful free kitchen of Guru Nanak, by educating people, by feeding people, we are serving God. Because if you can recognize that God is inside each and every person, we will be recognizing that we are in fact serving God when we are doing that wonderful service of compassionate giving of food and things like that.
Amandeep, if you could just clarify me, because I'm still not very clear that is there any role of worshipping the gurus?
Yes. So in Sikh faith, we believe that we know that Guru Nanak was God. So when we go to the Gurdwara, we can worship the Guru as a form of God.
Right.
And in
Okay.
fact,
But this is I'm sorry to say that this is in contradiction to what your first statement was, that you believe in only one God. Because if you are associating the gurus with them, obviously, I mean, this is what you have said. I don't want to have a discussion with you on that topic, but this is what is the inference of what you have just told us.
Well, I think the point to grasp is that when I'm saying there is one God, what I'm saying is Ikko Ankar, that in fact, not only do we worship one God, but in fact every single part and parcel of this creation is a part of that God. So Guru Nanak came as a form of that God, and they came in 11 different forms, but in fact there was only one God, there was only one Guru. So in fact, people ask the question, how many gurus are there in the Sikh faith? You can say that there are 11 gurus, or you can say there is one Guru, because they are all part and parcel, they are all different faces of that same one God.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So
okay, Amandeep,
on a two-dimensional face, I can see the basic understanding which you are seeing as a contradiction, but if you look deeper, it's not a contradiction, it's actually a beautiful reflection of the many different facets of God, and the fact that they are limitless and they are beyond comprehension and beyond count, beyond finite understanding and these sorts of things. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji so beautifully puts it in their scriptures. They say that God cannot be counted, cannot be described. They are beyond all the colours, they are beyond all of the things that we can understand them. But at the same time, we know that they are one, that they are just one.
Right. Amandeep, looking at all the distractions that we have in the world today, obviously, we live in a world full of materialism. So what does, Sikhism, what teachings does Sikhism give us in regards to, keeping away from all these fallacies?
Wonderful question. So beautifully, the Guru says that we should remain in this world. We should work in this world, and we should have an honest living, but at the same time, we should never be attached to any of the things of this world. In fact, the Guru goes so beautifully to put it that they say, not even one of your thoughts, or not even our thoughts which are in our minds are going to go with us. Not even, forget even the material world, even the metaphysical world, our thoughts which we consider to be beyond the creation, as sort of parts of the ether, if you like. Even our thoughts are not going to go with us. So the Guru says that we should work in this world, we should earn an honest living, and we should have duties in this world, but we should recognize that all of the things around us, that they are all false. And the Guru very beautifully puts a definition on falsehood to go on to say that falsehood doesn't mean just truth or lie. Falsehood means that thing which will come to an end. And anything that comes to an end is determined as being false, which is why love and compassion and true service, these things which are timeless, those are the true things. And so it's those things that we should be trying to attach ourselves to, not, for example, riches and wealth and spices and wonderful clothes.
Definitely.
So these are a distraction, and these things are going to remain in this world. And the only thing which is beyond this world is true service and true meditation, true compassionate acts of love and devotion, which is prayer and service in this world to the creation, to the Creator.
Right. Absolutely. But we also see that, some people within the community also, that there are people who call themselves Hindu Punjabi, and they say that they hold both Sikhism and Hindu beliefs as well. So isn't that, obviously there are some similarities within the religion, but obviously there are, differences as well, because obviously Hindus, they believe in more gods. Sikhism is a monotheistic belief. So wouldn't that actually clash if people call them Hindu Punjabi?
Well, I think what we have here, I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of my Hindu brothers because I don't consider myself deeply enough educated. But from what little I understand, I think that actually this is a myth. People talk about Hinduism as being a faith that propagates a belief in many gods. But actually, my understanding, and I may be wrong here, if you look down to the deeper roots of the Hindu faith as well, my understanding is that they very much believe in one God as well. But their understanding is that that God has come in many different incarnations. I think there are 33 million different incarnations of God. And I think over the years, the ignorance of people maybe have gotten caught up and they said this is God or that is God, Ganesh is God or Vishnu and things like this. But actually, if you look at the deeper root of it all, they understand that those are just reflections, those are different incarnations, different forms of that one God as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think in reality, I don't think there are any faiths in this world that propagate a belief that there is more than one God, to my understanding, which is wonderful, isn't it? That these universal truths can actually transcend. You know, we concentrate very much on the things that divide us sometimes, but actually the core truths are to be celebrated. If you look at Islam, the wonderful belief of one God, Allah, and again, as I've explained to your brother who's really on the show, that in the Sikh faith we believe in one God as well.
Yeah.
But in the sense that we concentrate on the differences, but there are these similarities that can join us together in celebration.
Is very much in accordance with your name. Your name says Amandeep, that is the light of peace. So you want to create peace between all the religions. So so that's a good thinking. But I think obviously what you are saying, that it is actually oneness of God by claim, but not in practice what they believe. It is different to the Islamic belief. But thank you very much for your thoughts this evening, and it's nice speaking to you.
Just before you go, could I just respond on that one point?
Yeah.
Yes.
What I would say is, I believe from the teachings of the Guru that it is not just a belief, but it's the actions which make us resonate with those with the teachings of
your practice. Yeah.
And in terms of oneness, if you want to take the word oneness, right? I'm very proud of the fact that in the Sikh temple, in the house of Guru Nanak, there is a true practice of oneness, in the sense that in the Sikh temple, in any Sikh temple in the world, take the Golden Temple as an example. If you go to the Golden Temple on any day of the week, you will have genuine practice of the belief of one God, in the sense that you will find hundreds of thousands of people from different faiths coming together and breaking bread and sitting together as one. Now, that for me is a much truer celebration of there being one God than simply laying claim through sentence that our scripture says that there is one God. If you go to the biggest kitchen in the world, which is the Golden Temple, the Sidi Darbar Sahib, you will genuinely find Muslims, Hindus and Christians invited to sit together and celebrate and pray together. And that is that's the substance of believing in one God. Saying there is only one God, that's not there's no truth behind that if there's no practice.
Absolutely.
And in other places in the world, unfortunately, there isn't that opportunity where people are invited to come together. So that's the real truth of the belief of one God, if that makes any sense. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate you giving me the chance to come on the show. So thank you for that time.
Okay, thank you, Amandeep. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.